Bungie's approach to seasonal content has been rather disappointing as the time goes on, and I don't mean the storylines we are given, because in general they range from being okay to being pretty good. But the reoccurring theme is that they all fall flat towards the end of the season, giving Destiny 2 players a big gap until there is something else we can do. Well, here's my plan on how to fix that following the Final Shape DLC, as well as spinning the seasonal content into a more fitting narrative, rather than it just feeling like short stories across the seasons. To start the plan off, we will begin at the launch of the Final Shape DLC. A lot of new stuff will be thrown into the game, and it typically will take players anywhere from a day to a week in order to complete the new campaign. Needless to say, we don't need any seasonal content in this week, as we are fully occupied with the new DLC and are busy doing the campaign. And on top of that, we're also exploring around the new area and also rounding up any tribes if we are into doing that. Week 2 is practically going to be the same with no seasonal content, as players will generally either be going through the campaign still or preparing for the day 1 raid that will release on the Friday, which is then going to carry over the weekend, which then falls into week 3. This will be officially when the new season starts, despite the fact that the season pass will actually be active from the first week. The first mission will come on the 3rd week, and it will go straight into the new season, building off the Final Shape DLC. The best way to sync them into the new season is to give the players a short recap of events if they did not get the DLC, so then they have a rough idea of what events actually happened. We will be keeping the drip feed model they currently have, and whilst it isn't exactly popular, it does help spread the season out and give players a reason to keep coming back. This season and the following seasons will have 9 weeks of content, with the 9th installment being the finale of the season to then nicely flow into the quarterly event, which will then finish on the final day of the season. Doing this for the first season alone will give the players a good enough reason to keep coming back every single week, and effectively removing the lull period where everyone drops off. But then the following season, we don't have DLC to buff out the first 2 weeks. It's probably what you'd be thinking straight off, but much like what Bungie did for the Lightfall DLC, where they released some extra content to get a very nice hand cannon, we will have a 2-week side story relating to the Final Shape DLC. Whether this is something to do with a post-DLC arc, or just an extra small narrative to do with the area, like how we had on Nea Muna with the Broken Shrines of the Cloud Striders, it's pretty much going to be a similar narrative to that, where it is just something extra that we can do off the back of the DLC. And again, week 3 will come along and the new season will officially start, which follows on from the previous season, and again this season will be 9 weeks long, but this time the season will culminate in revealing the next big bad for the next DLC. Personally, I would love to see a Guardian of the Darkness trying to resurrect the Witness, or a follower of the Witness. This content structure will then follow on for the next 2 seasons, with the 3rd season being a fun season, not tied to the story, so it can give Destiny players something different to experience and mess around with before coming back for the 4th season, which will be the full build up to the next DLC. Just some side notes for these seasons, I would also have Iron Banner every 3 weeks, so weeks 3, 6, 9 and 12 would be Iron Banner weeks, leaving weeks 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 and 11 to be for Trials of Osiris, with week 13 being part of a competitive break. Grandmaster Nightfalls I would actually make available from week 2 to allow 2 full rotations of all the available Nightfalls, except for the DLC season, as there will be a steep power grind when all the power levels are increased. On top of this, I would also have double rewards every week, with week 1 being Nightfalls, week 2 being Gambit, week 3 being Crucible, which will then land it in line with Iron Banner, and this will also continue up to week 12, with week 13 being double rewards for all activities. As far as rotations go, I would actually combine the Dungeon Rotator with the Exotic Mission Rotator in terms of pinnacle rewards. So the first week could be Dungeon Pinnacles, where regardless of what dungeon you run, you are guaranteed to get a pinnacle on completion. I would probably make this similar to Iron Banner, where you could earn up to 3 pinnacle rewards before you actually can't get them anymore. But then in week 2, the Rotator will switch to Exotic Missions, so all the Exotic Missions will give pinnacle rewards, with week 3 going back to the dungeon, and then so on. Week 13, however, will give pinnacle rewards for all available missions and dungeons on the first completion, which will make week 13 a very good week to grind anything out that you need to do. With this format for all the seasons going forward, it will give Destiny players a good reason to come back every single week, without a lull period, and will encourage players to join in for the final week before the new season drops to grind out anything else outstanding, as well as participate in the quarterly activity that will be on at the same time. But that is everything for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below telling me what you think about this kind of rotational idea, or do you have a better idea for the seasonal activities format? I would love to know. But as always, like and subscribe down below, and I shall see you all in the next video.